down as one of the most famous names in American crime history. But behind the scenes, there was another man, someone who operated in the shadows, wielding incredible power with an iron fist. His name was Frank Nitti, the enforcer who made Chicago's streets run red during Prohibition. While Capone may have been the face, Nitti was the muscle, ensuring that the outfit's operations ran smoothly and that anyone who stepped out of line was dealt with. Today, we're taking a deep dive into the life of Chicago's deadliest enforcer. This is the story of Frank Nitti, the man who put fear into the hearts of criminals and civilians alike. Frank Nitti was born Francesco Raffaele Nitto in Angri, Italy, on January 27, 1886. Like many Italians of his time, Nitti's family immigrated to the United States, seeking a better life. They settled in New York City's Little Italy neighborhood, but life wasn't easy. Nitti, who had little formal education, was forced to take on various jobs, everything from shoe shining to working in factories to make ends meet. However, young Nitti wasn't content with scraping by. He soon became familiar with the darker side of urban life. In the streets of New York, Nitti connected with criminal elements, developing skills in robbery and petty crime. But it wasn't long before he saw bigger opportunities in Chicago, the city that would make him infamous. By the 1910s, Nitti had relocated to Chicago, a city that was fast becoming a hotspot for organized crime. It was here that Nitti honed his skills in bootlegging, gambling, and extortion. But his big break came in the early 1920s, when he caught the eye of a rising star in the Chicago underworld, a man named Al Capone. The 1920s were a golden age for organized crime, largely thanks to Prohibition. The nationwide ban on alcohol created an enormous black market for bootleg liquor, and criminal syndicates rushed to take control of this lucrative trade. The Chicago outfit, led by Al Capone, quickly became one of the most powerful crime organizations in the country. And while Capone was the public figurehead, it was Frank Nitti who ensured that the outfit's operations ran smoothly and efficiently. Nitti's role was simple but deadly. He enforced Capone's rule with ruthless efficiency, earning him the nickname the Enforcer. Anyone who crossed the outfit, whether rival gangsters, uncooperative speakeasy owners, or even law enforcement, faced Nitti's wrath. But Nitti wasn't just a hired thug. He was also a shrewd businessman, managing the logistics of the outfit's bootlegging empire and overseeing the bribery of police, judges, and politicians. During this time, the Chicago outfit made millions of dollars from illegal liquor sales, gambling, and prostitution. But the violence escalated. One of the most notorious events in the outfit's history was the St. Valentine's Day Massacre in 1929. Although Nitti wasn't directly involved, this brutal slaying of 7 rival gang members cemented the outfit's reputation for violence. With Capone's public image tarnished by this massacre, Nitti continued to solidify his position behind the scenes. In 1931, Al Capone was finally brought down, not by violence, but by the federal government on charges of tax evasion. Capone was sentenced to 11 years in prison, leaving a power vacuum in the Chicago outfit. Frank Nitti stepped in to fill the void. But unlike Capone, Nitti wasn't interested in being a public figure. He preferred to operate in the shadows, consolidating the outfit's power and expanding its influence. With Capone out of the picture, Nitti quietly took control of the outfit, shifting its focus to more lucrative and less visible operations. Under Nitti's leadership, the outfit expanded into labor racketeering, particularly in Hollywood. Nitti and his associates extorted millions from movie studios by taking control of the unions that represented film industry workers. Through bribes, threats, and strikes, Nitti's men controlled who could work in Hollywood and when. The studios, fearing costly delays and sabotage, paid millions in protection money to the Chicago outfit. This gave the outfit immense power not only in Chicago but also on the West Coast, making Nitti one of the most powerful crime figures in America. But with great power came increased scrutiny. By the late 1930s, federal authorities were beginning to take notice of the outfit's influence over Hollywood unions. This led to a series of investigations and indictments, which put Nitti and his associates in the crosshairs of law enforcement once again. In 1943, Nitti's criminal empire began to unravel. he and several top members of the outfit were indicted for extortion in connection with their control of Hollywood's unions. Facing the possibility of a long prison sentence, Nitti's mental state began to deteriorate. Once the ruthless enforcer, he now feared for his future. Rather than face trial and imprisonment, Nitti made a fateful decision. On March 19, 1943, he walked down to the railroad tracks near his home in Riverside, Illinois. There, he took out a revolver and shot himself. Frank Nitti, the feared enforcer of Chicago's most infamous crime syndicate, was dead. Frank Nitti's life may have ended in tragedy, but his legacy continues to cast a long shadow over Chicago and the history of organized crime. While Al Capone remains the more famous figure, Nitti was the one who kept the outfit running, even after Capone's downfall. He was a man who thrived in the shadows, pulling the strings of a vast criminal empire that extended far beyond Chicago. Even today, the story of Frank Nitti reminds us of the brutal and often unseen side of organized crime. What do you think? Was Frank Nitti truly the deadliest enforcer of his time? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit